I am coming to you live from our socially distanced classroom here in Delaware Hall. And thank you so much for joining our second COVID-19 Autumn 21 planning town hall this morning. So we have an action-packed hour for you, and we will make sure that we have plenty of time for questions and answers from many of the folks that will be with us today. So we have Mark Dudgeon, we have Dr. Kurt Laird, we have Michelle Arnold, and we have some other visitors that will be joining us today in our town hall. So as you know, we have been at this for 14 months. And in this entire pandemic, we have been providing instruction remotely. We've been providing instruction live online. We have been providing instruction and supporting students and keeping our campus safe and healthy here in person at the Columbus campus and in other locations. And as Dr. Harrison mentioned in First Wednesday, we have had thousands of students who have been with us in person and many more thousands that have been with us online and live online. And we have had hundreds and hundreds of faculty and staff who have been with us again in person. And yet, the campus has been a little bit quiet. For those of us that have been on campus, we can maybe walk across campus and not see as many people as we would normally see in any kind of normal semester. And so we're so grateful for all of the faculty and staff who have been with us in person, who have also been supporting our students remotely. We've certainly enjoyed the students that we have seen. But we've seen some other things on our campus too. And I don't know about you, but I am particularly grateful for the geese that have been with us this entire pandemic. And so what we have now are Corona, the mom, COVID, the dad, and they're hopefully vaccinated goslings that have been walking our campus. And for those of you that pre-pandemic kind of ventured by Franklin Hall, a couple years ago we had Gail who nested right outside of Franklin Hall. So while we love our geese, we love our hawks, we love the neighbors that have been walking their dogs, the young people that have been running through our campus. We are so looking forward to an optimistic and hopeful autumn term where we invite many more people back to our campus. So like I said, we have a lot to get through today, so we're going to go ahead and get right to it. We are actively entering into a new phase, as we mentioned at the last town hall, and that new phase is stronger together with an optimistic and hopeful autumn term. So we will get to that in more detail here in a little bit later. So first, we are going to talk about summer a little bit. And then we will talk a little bit more detail about what we're planning for in terms of our socially distanced classrooms and socially distanced campus, not only for summer, but for our autumn term. And then we'll turn it over to Dr. Kurt Laird, Mark Dudgeon, Michelle Arnold for some more specific information to share with you about the return to campus. I am actually going to be referring to notes today because we do have a lot to get through. So bear with me if I miss something. I'm sure my friends that are with us today will remind me as we go forward. This is being recorded. And we will post it after this session. And as always, if you have any questions that you don't get to today or we don't get to today in the question and answer period, please email COVID-19 operations at cscc.edu and we'll be happy to answer your questions there. So let's start with a review. As we think about our summer term and our autumn term, again, our guiding principles, health and safety, care and compassion, transparency of communication will continue to guide us. I want to linger a little bit on health and safety and talk about really two criteria that are really important for us as we move forward in the summer and autumn term. One of those is something that we have been doing very, very well throughout this entire pandemic, and that's keeping our campus community safe through our facilities, our custodial, our infrastructure and campus operations. And so here in a minute, I will share with you a little bit. I have some props with me about what a socially distanced classroom might look like. The other key to our success is vaccination. And so earlier this week, I sent out an email with a lot of good reference around getting vaccination if you are able to do so. So would highly encourage all of us, again, if you are able to do so, to get vaccinated. So we are going to start this morning with a little bit about summer, and then we'll move more deliberatively into fall. So let me share with you how summer is shaping up. So first of all, we will be posting here shortly a comprehensive list of all of the offices that will be open for summer, but I want to review a little bit this morning, some of them. So first, I'm going to start with the Blend. So the Blend is opening on June 16th. We are so pleased and happy that the Blend team will be with us and open. They'll be offering breakfast, lunch, drinks, baked goods, Monday through Thursday from 8 to noon. They are also contemplating, see if we can do some grab and go types of opportunities after the lunch hour. The bookstore will be opening in a few short weeks on May 17th. And so there will be appointments that students can schedule throughout the term, and they may add some additional hours based on demand. Our cashier's office has been with us for some time during this pandemic, offering services to our students. They will be opening May 17th and will offer in-person appointments. College testing services, welcome. You will be with us in the summer. We know this has been a big need. Thank you to all of our faculty and student support personnel who have really been working with our students in creative ways when we have been remote to provide testing opportunities. So again, I want to linger here and say that this is not going to be full service testing, but we are reaching out to certain academic departments and certain student populations that have specific in-person testing needs. So that office will be working diligently with those departments. Our computer commons will be open from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., appointment-based computer access and printing stations. Our conference and events center will be open. Not only will they be helping us as we need to space out our instruction for summer term and autumn term, but they will also be opening for some external events as the Columbus community, Franklin County, Central Ohio starts to open up and think about a broader workforce return and economic recovery. Delaware campus. So Delaware and Dublin are going to be two areas that will be open in greater numbers in the summer and certainly in the autumn. So for the Delaware campus, student services will be available Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. There will be additional in-person services offered by appointments that include counseling services, disability services, and testing services for our Delaware campus. And on the Dublin campus, we will have student services that will be available Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of counseling services and disability services and thank those teams especially. We know that mental health has certainly been top of mind for us as we serve our students, and certainly for our students. Those teams have been working diligently throughout this entire pandemic to serve our student population remotely, and we're just so happy that they are now going to be, by appointments, servicing our students in person as we, again, in summer, increase our density a little bit and then look toward a hopeful and optimistic autumn term. So a few more. The IT help desk and our cyber cafe will be back in service by appointment only, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Library services will also be available, including one-on-one research assistance by appointment. Our librarians, as we all know, are critical support to our students as they're pursuing their academic programs, and we're happy to have our library starting to take appointments with our students over the summer. Student Central will open on the 7th of June. And they will be open again by appointment only, Monday through Wednesday, with the ability to expand on demand. They will also be having hotel space for some of our other student services that need to take appointments, such as TRIO, counseling services, student advocacy, student financial stability, and other related programs. So thank you, Student Central. Student Academic Success and the Tutoring Center will be here offering appointments on our campus. Welcome and entry. So all of the units and student support staff that welcome our students prior to each term, we will have under the Nestor Arch. We will have personnel that will be welcoming our students before the summer term starts, and then they will begin to be here over the summer more. So again, the summer is a wonderful return in person, even though online or by appointment only, but a wonderful opportunity for our students to engage with our student support personnel and our faculty in a little bit, dense way as we prepare again for a hopeful and optimistic autumn. So I am going to start to turn our attention to our autumn term, and I'm going to put Michelle and Mark and Kurt on deck. But before I get there, there's a couple of things that are occurring on the HR and workplace front in advance of summer term that are really exciting that I want to share with you. And the first is that we are going to be doing something the first week of June for our workforce to welcome everyone back for those of us that are going to be working in person in the summer. We are going to do something again in the beginning of the autumn term for the workforce that's going to return, with us in the autumn term. But so for those of you that are going to be with us in the summer, stay tuned for a special welcome back to in-person service of our students and being here on campus for the summer term. Kristen Treadway, as you all know, has been doing such a fantastic job being our liaison with Columbus Public Health, with our medical partners, Ohio Health, and now she single-handedly got a vaccine clinic on our campus that was wonderfully successful with Kroger as our partner, and now she has been spearheading, and we're not quite, don't have all of the information to share with you today, but we are excited to announce that we have obtained nearly 11,000 at-home COVID-19 tests. And so we plan to give these tests out the first week of the summer semester to students and I think our workforce. I may have that wrong. Kristen will correct me, I'm sure, if I do. And so we plan to give these tests out the first week of the summer semester, and they're good until September 1st. And so we will be encouraging our students and our employees to take them home and to keep them on hand should they need them. There will be more information forthcoming from Kristen, Terrence, Brooks, and others in terms of how we're going to distribute these tests, how these tests can be used at home, and what it means for us. But it's another way that we are working to keep the guiding principle of health and safety at the forefront for us as we enter into the summer term. HR is also in the process of scheduling training the last 2 weeks of May with the various areas who are returning for the summer for the first time. So those trainings will include important information on safety protocols and procedures, mental health awareness, and more. So stay tuned and work with your HR business partner to learn more about these trainings. We are also going to be doing some faculty training for those faculty that have not been with us before in the summer term. And so all of that will be happening as we go into the start of our summer term. So now, before I move into some of our guests that are with us, Michelle, Mark, and Kurt, I want to set the stage a little bit and talk about our Autumn 21. As we talked about the last town hall, we've talked about its subsequent supervisors meetings, and I'm sure many of you, as you're working with your supervisors to think about what Autumn 21 means to you, a couple of things to keep in the forefront. As we talked about the last time, mission criticality, which is aligned with our increased instructional and student services footprint, is going to guide our return to work for those of you that are not direct instruction or direct student support. So autumn, for some of us, might start in the summer because we have to prepare for an autumn term. Whereas for others of us, autumn starts when the autumn term starts. So we have developed, and Michelle is going to talk about this, Michelle and Mark are going to talk about this a little bit more later, but we've developed a rubric and a process that all units will be using to think about and plan for what an autumn return might look like. So I want to dive a little bit deeper in this. First, this is not going to be a pre-pandemic workforce density. Autumn 21 is not going to be that. We've gotten a lot of questions. Are we all coming back? Is it 100%? We simply do not have the space for that to be the case. And so it's not going to be 100% density. Each unit is going to be looking at their mission criticality and then looking at the physical space and technology considerations, and then determining what's appropriate against those criteria. For our faculty, many of you that are full-time faculty have already determined what your Autumn 21 is going to look like. Drs. Malawski and Dr. Laird are working with department chairs on finishing the Autumn 21 footprint for in-person and really getting a schedule set. So that work is occurring right now. And then for direct student support staff, many of you are already going to be here in the summer by appointment only. And that is a wonderful foundation to work from as we think about Autumn 21. So I know that there is a lot of work occurring already with direct student support offices in thinking about what does Autumn 21 look like based on how we have positioned ourselves for summer. So it is our hope that we can let the entirety of our campus community know. Again, most of our full-time faculty certainly have their Autumn 21 schedules set, but for direct student support and the other offices on our campus that serve our campus through campus operations, we are vectoring toward letting you know in the early summer at the unit level what your autumn 21 will look like. But Michelle and Mark are going to get into that here in just a moment. So what I would like to do now is talk a little bit, and I hope I don't give the 300 and some folks that are watching vertigo as I do this, because I'm going to kind of turn my laptop here. I want to give everyone a little bit of a taste of what our facilities crew has been doing in consultation with our Office of Academic Affairs to set up an example, and they have been doing this all over campus, of what a socially distanced classroom will look like. So I am in Delaware Hall 106A. This room typically holds 24 students. So I am sitting in the front row, so right in front of me is the whiteboard. And so behind me are two props that I'll share with you what they are in just a moment. But this room now has a capacity of 12. So I am going to, ever so gently, share with you what it looks like. So there's one chair at every desk. Each of these desks are at least 6 feet apart, and for those of you who know me, I am 6 feet tall. I'm not going to lay down, but what I can do is do this and share with you that so we are at least 6 feet apart. So all of the rooms are going to be set up in this type of capacity. What you have here is not a Mystery Science 3000 robot, for those of you that enjoyed that show like I did. This is our sanitation station. So what we have, and this will be in the front of every room, what we have are touchless sanitizer in a tray that you can't, well, it's the blue milk crate that they've attached that you can't see what's inside, but we have disinfecting wipes. We have some gloves, we have some spray, and then on the other side are towels. And so it gives everyone the opportunity to sanitize before they come in the room, and then quickly sanitize at the end of class. So that gives our students the opportunity to do that. What we have here, which is really more difficult to see except for the blue square, is the plexiglass barrier that is in front of the instructor workstation, which is off to my left, your right. So that plexiglass barrier goes in front of the instructor workstation. So Ben, let's show then the slide that shows this through a picture and schematic. So again, that's a little bit more, you see there how the plexiglass looks with the instructor workstation. You'll see the sanitation station, you'll see the schematic, and then a picture of the room. So this type of work is being done all over campus for our classrooms. And it's also being done for our student services offices. So I could have been in Student Central today, and so maybe next time I'll be in Student Central and share with you the measures that they have taken and our facilities team has worked with to really create a socially distanced, safe, and secure area for Student Central to be in. So this is the type of detail, the type of collaboration and work that's been going on this entire time to prepare for a summer term, and certainly to prepare more for an autumn term. So before I turn it over to Michelle, I want to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, this morning at 9 o'clock, we had a faculty panel of many of our faculty members who have been with us this entire time providing instruction, and they shared their lessons learned and a lot of really great information about what it's like to instruct and to help some of our faculty that have not been on campus or have instructed in person. So they did knowledge transfer, lessons learned, and really had a rich conversation. So thanks to our faculty and thanks to Michelle for taking part of that in that. It's my understanding that our faculty professional development initiative is going to be working over the summer to think about how are we thinking about active and collaborative learning while we're in a socially distant pandemic type of instruction in person. So, you know, that is really good work that will be happening over the summer. So stay tuned there. So I have certainly talked enough. I have given a lot of information. I would encourage you all to put questions in the chat, and I am now going to turn it over to Michelle Arnold. Michelle?
Thank you, Dr. Butler. It's great to be with all of you this morning. I'd like to share a couple of updates with you regarding the faculty return to campus this summer. First, I'd like to begin by thanking multiple people who have helped develop this process. Tom Shanahan and Patty Allen have represented the faculty and worked with a group of us to help us understand the faculty perspective. Mark Dudgeon, Martin Berry, Deputy Chief Steve Shimony, Billy Williams, and Vincent Kokoza have helped with the operations and technological aspects. I've truly enjoyed the collaboration of these teams and appreciate their dedication to this work. So I'm pleased to let you know that a guidelines document outlining several processes will be coming to the faculty next week. So please watch your email. It'll be coming from the Academic Affairs account. And from the feedback that we've received, we know that faculty want to have access to their offices, and I'm happy to let you know that beginning June 1st, faculty will have open access to their offices during the following times. So Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Saturday and Sunday by contacting the Columbus State Police Department. We also have faculty who have requested to be able to hold in-person office hours. So we've designated specific conference rooms across campus that can be reserved for this purpose. We understand that this is not and will not be a perfect solution. It will require a few extra steps on the part of faculty, but what we're hoping is that it will provide a safe solution for you to be able to meet in person with students if that's what you choose to do. We'll continue to seek feedback and improve processes as we go along. And again, there will be detailed instructions and information that will be included in the guide that will be coming to you next week through email. So I'm hopeful that these things will help you as you transition back to campus. And please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or concerns. We're here to help you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Dudgeon so that he can talk to you a little bit about what we'll be doing as far as getting our staff back on campus. Mark?
Good morning. Thank you, Michelle. I'm part of a team that includes Becky Fields, Martin Berry, and Michelle Arnold. Our work currently consists of developing a template for administrators to use as a plan for their operations to return to campus. As part of this process, we are touring each department on campus and office spaces to assess what safety precautions need to take place and to determine a guideline for the number of employees that can safely return to each area. Once the work is complete, we will begin the process of scheduling meetings with each VP and their direct reports. We will share what we have learned and discuss the planning template with each of those areas. We know many of you have already started your planning, and our hope is that the work we are doing will help provide guidance and consistency in how we approach the return of our workforce to campus. Please feel free to reach out to anyone on this team with any questions you may have. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Laird.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Wanted to just talk very briefly about heading into autumn semester and where we are with that right now. The Academic and Student Support Committee of it's a subgroup of the COVID operations team. We finished our reviews as Dr. Butler had gone over our service plans for the student support areas, and we're pivoting now. We've spent maybe the last week or two really focusing on instruction for the autumn. We're working with department chairs currently to determine the correct balance of remote versus in-person courses. And we're really looking at things, we're getting down in the weeds on times of days, times of days, to really make sure we've got a schedule that will serve our students best. We're hearing a lot from students in regard to the types of courses they're looking for and the types of modalities they're looking for. So we're really getting down in the weeds to determine the correct balance. With that, we're also going to be eventually raising the caps a little bit at a time. Our facilities management team has really just gone above and beyond and looking at all of these classrooms to determine how far above the 10 cap we originally are setting things at, how far above we're able to go there and still remain socially distant. In some cases, a classroom that we thought was originally at 10, we might be able to seat 12. In other cases, it might be 14. But we're doing that with, as always, safety being the primary driver of what we're attempting to do there. In addition to facilities management, I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge shout out to the curriculum management team, working very closely with them with trying to situate all of our autumn semester classes in all of these rooms. When you're trying to maintain social distance as well as just getting things normally like we normally would into the schedule, all of that together is, I'm sure you can imagine, quite a puzzle. And curriculum management is working very closely with me. I'm working closely with the chairs, and we're trying to come up with the best possible outcome of that puzzle possible. So a big shout out to them. We're also looking at some specific academic asks that are coming to us, very specific things that we're handling as we receive those. And we're going to be spending probably the next couple of weeks on instruction. And then probably right around the beginning of June, middle of June, we're really going to pivot again and get back to planning for student support services for our autumn semester after that in June. We really want to get some students back into campus and see how they're utilizing our student supports, and then use that information to inform what we're planning to do for the autumn. So we'll be pivoting back to that, away from instruction again and back to that, and then we'll go back to instruction again toward the end of summer as we plan to, believe it or not, get ready for spring of 22. So a lot happening, but a heck of a lot of collaboration, and we continue to push forward. And at this point, I would like to turn the mic back over to Dr. Butler.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Michelle and Mark. So let me emphasize a couple of points that were made throughout their presentations and information, and then would encourage everyone, we have some questions that have come in, and would encourage you to ask questions. Again, like we said at the last town hall, there is no question or comment that is too small. As you can tell, there has been an enormous amount of work to date, and there is work yet to be done. So your feedback and your questions really help us and help the COVID-19 operations team and the sub-teams really deliver and work collaboratively with all of you to have a good summer and a good, hopeful, optimistic autumn semester. So a few things. First of all, in Mark's comments about the process that we're going to use for the workforce for autumn 21, I want to emphasize a couple of things. What Mark and Becky Fields and Michelle have done has really been remarkable, walking every space and every office space on this campus. If you have not been working with your vice president or your supervisor yet, you will be very soon. Again, like I mentioned before, to work through what makes sense for your unit for the autumn semester. And for some, the autumn semester is going to start in the summer because you need to be here to welcome our students, for example. And in other cases, it might start more to the traditional start of the summer or of the autumn semester. There is going to be a rubric or a process template that every unit will use on this campus. This does not apply, by the way, to faculty, to our full-time faculty. Your schedules have been set, and Dr. Laird just talked through, the finishing touches that we're putting on the autumn schedule. So this process that I'm speaking about now is really geared toward student support and campus operations workforce return. So every unit will go through this process. It will be easy and straightforward in terms of the template that we're going to use. What we are going to do is, if you are a supervisor, there's a supervisors meeting this afternoon, and we'll go in more detail about this. But for any of you that are thinking, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this because my office might be too small or whatever have you, and I know there's a question in the chat about that. That's what Mark and Michelle and Becky will help us with, and the facilities team will help all of us determine, what does that mean for a unit for which their existing workplace doesn't allow for social distancing. The answer is, it may mean that you will work someplace else on campus that isn't your unit, or it could mean that we might need to make some small modifications to your existing workplace footprint. But we will do all of that together. We will ensure that we are maintaining our guiding principle of health and safety. So again, that work is going to start in earnest here within the next couple of weeks, with, again, our goal to communicate at the unit level in the early summer what the autumn 21 plans will be for our workplace units. Dr. Laird talked a little bit about our autumn 21 planning. It is a very interesting puzzle that we're putting together to ensure that, like I am sitting in a socially distanced classroom that holds 12, and it holds 12 in a socially distanced way. It would have normally held 24. So we are thinking about our entire campus, Delaware, Dublin, all of our footprints in that way across instruction and direct student support. So that, for example, if we are meeting students for mental health support or disability testing or college academic testing or whatever it is, that we're doing that in a healthy and safe way in an alignment with public health guidelines. So for that reason, there is going to be some kind of back and forth toggling over the course of the next couple of months. So just be patient with us. We would ask that you're patient with us as we're trying to think through, okay, instruction needs to guide our autumn return. We want to make sure that we have our students' needs met and our community's needs met as our entire community starts to come out of this pandemic. Student support, how we're tutoring students, how we're serving students, and making sure that we are providing those wonderful wraparound services to our students. And then how are we thinking about the entirety of our workforce? So it is a puzzle. We are going to do it together, and the templates that we're using and the care and compassion that we're using. And thank you to Staff Advisory Council, Academic Council, and CSEA, and myriad others for being part of these groups and for providing important feedback as we move into an autumn, hopeful and an optimistic autumn term. All right, so a couple other questions. Let me get back up to the top. The first question was around lounge spaces and closed spaces on our campus. Yes, we are going to start to repopulate some of our lounge spaces, and we are going to do some of that in the summer, more so in the autumn term. Again, the same principles that we just outlined around social distancing and public health guidelines for our instructional spaces and our office spaces are going to be absolutely true for any of our lounge spaces or gathering spaces. So facilities team is going to be working on that, but yes, you will start to see some of our lounge spaces open back up in a socially distanced and healthy way. Let's see here. So I think I addressed Sarah and whoever asked the question out in the audience, thank you, about modifications or relocations of offices where their existing footprint doesn't allow for social distancing. Yes, that is part of the plan that Mark, Michelle, and you will work with your supervisor and your vice president to determine what is the best course of action for any one unit where physical and social distancing isn't available in your existing footprint. So yes, we will work through that. Will emergency extra masks be available? And yes, what I did not mention is in this blue basket is an entire box of masks. And so masks will be available for faculty, staff, students who forget them or don't present with a mask. They will be available in the classrooms. Will there be sanitation stations in work areas for employees, and will employees be socially distanced? So Mark, I'm going to ask you to chime in if I do not get this correct. But I can share with you when I walked into Delaware Hall and through Delaware Hall, for example, and I see the same thing in Franklin Hall when I'm in Franklin Hall, there are sanitization hand sanitizers all over the place. So those are, I mean, I think I saw one every 7 or 10 feet in Delaware Hall, for example. Mark, could you speak to this type of sanitization station in, student support workspaces or something that's the equivalent of that?
Yeah, so our plan for summer and then into fall is to have the health and safety stations, like Dr. Butler referenced there, prominently available throughout our buildings and throughout our spaces. This may mean areas such as our common areas, our unsupervised study spaces, classrooms, labs, and then centrally located in office suites and in areas where staff and faculty will be using their personal space.
Thanks, Mark. So again, as we talked about at the last town hall, and over the summer, we are going to provide the opportunity to have several different opportunities to have campus tours for our faculty and our staff who will be with us in the summer and subsequently with us in the autumn term to get a really good feeling in person, if you're comfortable doing that, about what the campus is going to look like, so you can see in real time. One of our sanitization stations, you can see all of the decals on the floor that say, hey, stand here, maintain 6 feet of social distancing, elevators, everything. And then again, hopefully have some opportunity for us to engage in fellowship and see each other in person in a socially distanced fashion. So stay tuned for those dates to come, but that'll also give us the opportunity to see, what it looks like to be in a socially distanced campus. And again, I cannot thank our facilities crew, our IT crew, our campus operations crew, our custodial crew enough. The campus looks great. So we are excited about the level of detail there. I am going to, I want to come back, and Sarah, don't let me forget, I want to come back. There are several questions about hybrid work schedules moving forward, so I want to come back to those. But I'm going to move briefly to vaccination requirements. So the question is, students that are taking face-to-face classes, will they be required to be vaccinated? We, at this time, are not requiring vaccinations of our students to take in-person classes. We are also not requiring vaccination of our faculty and staff at this time. And as you, if you read the email that I sent out earlier in the week, we are continuing to monitor federal and state guidelines on the vaccination front in general regarding requirement, et cetera. And if that changes, we will let you know in terms of those guidelines. But as it stands now, at Columbus State, we are not requiring it of our faculty and staff, and we are not requiring it of our students. All the more reason for us to be able to have the at-home COVID kits for our students and employees for their use. And we are suggesting and would encourage everyone who is able to do so to get vaccinated. So again, we're not going to require it at this time. What impact will socially distanced classrooms have on our overall enrollment? So we are monitoring enrollment very, very carefully. I know that Drs. Malawski and Dr. Laird, working with the academic deans and the department chairs, are monitoring the enrollment at the unit level very, very closely. We certainly have a robust number of live online and web-based classes that are also being offered for the autumn term. And Dr. Laird, if there's anything you want to add here after I'm finished, please chime in on this. What we really want to do for our autumn semester is ensure that we have choice for our students. We know that many of our students did not fare well. They had to drop out, or they ended up not enrolling because of the inability to be successful, either because they didn't have access to broadband, childcare, and environmental or household concerns, or because they just could not be successful in an online modality. And we want to make sure that we are, as Dr. Laird indicated, providing an academic schedule that does all of those things. We will be monitoring it all very, very carefully. We recognize that an in-person section of 12 and through attrition, we could get to an in-person section of 10 or 8, through DREG. We are going to be very flexible in terms of these sections because our primary driver here is student success. And so we are just going to need to be flexible in terms of enrollment, in terms of offering classes and continuing to run classes that, quite frankly, may have a lower enrollment in person than we're used to. But just as we together pivoted quickly at the beginning of this pandemic and did things from an instructional standpoint that were really, really remarkable and put care and compassion and student success at the core, we're going to do those same things in this situation. And we recognize that our in-person sections won't have the typical enrollment, and that's okay. That's okay. Will Columbus State be offering any other wraparound services for students and staff, like reopening the Child Care Center? I can share with you that childcare in our community is really a crisis. We've had many child care centers closed, especially in neighborhoods that need them the most. That is an active community conversation that both I, Dr. Harrison, Dr. Dickerson, our ECE faculty and staff are actively engaged with. Dr. Polk Bland from a Student Financial Stability. We are all actively engaged in not only child care immediate recovery, but long-term resiliency, not only to serve our students, but for our child care and early learning professionals themselves. So I don't have a clear answer on that right now, but what I can say is that is an active conversation and we should expect to hear more soon. I am going to have Mark, if you would be on deck here shortly to talk again about ventilation in our classrooms. Yes, students will be required to wear masks. We are going to be following public health guidelines. So students, faculty, and staff, as it stands now, we have a mask requirement in the state of Ohio. So our students, faculty, and staff, when they're indoors, will be required to wear masks. We are also required to be socially distanced by at least 6 feet. If any of that guidance changes, as we've said before, and we'll continue to reiterate this because this is a really important point, we will be taking those public health changes under advisement and then having an internal conversation about what makes sense for us. So if the state were to drop a mask requirement, that does not mean that we are immediately dropping the same requirement. We need to have an internal, and we'll have an internal conversation about what makes most sense for us. So, Mark, I want to have you talk very, very briefly about ventilation in our classrooms. The specific question was where there are windows, is there the opportunity to open them? But let's talk a little bit about ventilation. And then I want to close about come back to our hybrid workforce. I know there's a lot of other questions in the chat. Sarah, if you would just make sure we get those, and we'll answer those through an email that I'll send out, if not today, probably Monday or Tuesday. Mark.
Yes, so thank you, Dr. Butler. Many of our buildings and spaces are very limited on the ability to open windows. We recognize that that is one of the recommendations out there by the CDC. We just don't have those capabilities in many of our spaces. Our ventilation, our systems are and have been programmed whenever and wherever possible to maximize the number of air exchanges in each of the spaces, and we'll continue to focus on that work, just as we have increased our filter exchanges and have converted to a MERV 13 hospital grade filter. We'll continue to adapt additional practices as time continues to go forward.
Thanks, Mark. So in the 4 minutes that I have left, I want to talk about, there have been some questions in the chat that are specific to certain, or questions that have been raised that are specific to certain employee groups, and absolutely understand. We all want to get clear really quickly on what our expectations are for the autumn term. And questions around what is the campus's and what's the college's position on hybrid teleworking or remote working, you know, kind of in the future and ongoing. I will tell you that the college is continuing to discuss and think about what our ongoing and long-term telework and remote work policy will be broadly across the college. Certainly, the pandemic has taught us that work can be done in a variety of different modalities. And we have a large campus community, and much of that is in person, and much of that can be done also in a hybrid and a remote work posture. So we are looking at what we've learned through the pandemic. We will certainly be engaging across our employee groups here over the summer and into the fall and into the autumn to really understand what we think our long-term disposition might be. I wish we could give you a clear answer now about what work is going to look like next year and in the years after. We're just not there yet. But we are looking at it. We know that it is something not only that Columbus State's looking at, but many employers, virtually all employers are looking at. And so we will engage our campus community as we think about that long term. For those of you that raised questions about your particular area and your return to work, I am going to do this. I am going to ask each of the vice presidents for which there were questions to address those questions with you so that we can get into more detail than I'm able to give in a broad town hall about what does autumn semester mean for, you know, online faculty, or what does autumn semester mean for, you know, a specific set of offices. So we hear you that there's still ambiguity out there. Again, patience as we really work to try to bring clarity during the month of May and into early June around what it will look like at the unit level for everyone. But what I will do is we will work through the vice presidents to try to get more detail to faculty and staff around generally what you should expect for the autumn term. I will end by saying this again. Autumn 21 is not going to be a 100% you know, pre-pandemic return for us. We are simply not in a position to do that, but we are actively moving into a phase of trying to be very optimistic and very hopeful that the worst of this pandemic is behind us and we can welcome our students, more of our students back to campus and really engage in the recovery of this community, and most importantly, see each other on this campus, the Delaware campus and the Dublin campus again. So we will be together in 3 weeks. And by the time we get to June 18th, I am pretty certain that we will have much more clarity around unit-specific return to work. I know it's on everybody's minds. We will continue to share information and we will get the answers to the questions that we didn't get to in today's town hall. We will get those out to you via email. Thanks, Mark and the facilities team, for allowing me to hang out here in one of our socially distanced classrooms. Thanks to each of you for your feedback, for your care and commitment to our students and to each other, and have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Peace, everyone. Take care.